The phrases echo in our daily lives. Try harder. You need to make more effort. Don't give up. These are common refrains ingrained in our consciousness from childhood. Effort, diligence, and persistence are often seen as default requirements, the only paths to success, recognition, and a meaningful life. We are taught that to achieve anything worthwhile, we must push ourselves, overcome obstacles, and never yield. This relentless pursuit of trying harder is celebrated, held up as an undeniable virtue. But what if, at some point, trying hard becomes counterproductive? What if the very act of pushing forward, when exhaustion has already set in, leads not to triumph but to a slow, insidious form of self-destruction? This essay will explore the often overlooked dark side of relentless effort, arguing that while perseverance is crucial, there comes a critical juncture where continuing to try hard, especially when utterly depleted, is not a sign of strength but a dangerous denial of our fundamental human needs. It is at this point that our most celebrated virtue transforms into a silent, internal assailant. Part 1. Society glorifies effort but neglects the art of rest. Our modern society is deeply enamored with the concept of the hustle. From Silicon Valley startups to the gig economy, the narrative is consistent. Work tirelessly, sleep less, and sacrifice personal life for professional gain. This culture valorizes constant activity, equating busyness with productivity and exhaustion with dedication. Individuals who push through, despite immense challenges, are often hailed as heroes embodying resilience and an unbreakable spirit. The person who works late into the night, takes on extra projects, or seemingly never takes a break is frequently seen as strong, disciplined, and destined for greatness. This societal adulation for relentless effort creates a powerful, often unspoken, pressure. The consequence of this glorification is profound and pervasive. People become genuinely afraid to rest, fearful of being judged as lazy, uncommitted, or lacking ambition. The idea of admitting fatigue or needing a break can feel like an admission of weakness, a professional and personal failing in a world that rewards ceaseless output. We internalize the message that to be worthy, we must always be on, always striving, always productive. This fear of judgment from colleagues, family, friends, and even strangers on social media becomes a powerful inhibitor, trapping us in a cycle of overwork and self-neglect. But when does effort, this seemingly noble pursuit, cross the line from healthy ambition into a form of self-compulsion, even self-annihilation? When does pushing oneself become an act of self-harm, disguised as diligence? The answer lies in recognizing the subtle yet critical shift from purposeful striving to desperate clinging, from mindful engagement to mindless endurance. It's when the try harder mantra becomes an internal tyrant, demanding more than our physical and mental reserves can provide, forcing us to override our body's desperate pleas for respite. Part 2. The silent signs of depletion behind a facade of okayness. It's a common scenario. You're running on fumes, yet you meticulously maintain the illusion of being perfectly fine. The internal alarms are blaring, but the external show of competence and resilience continues. Recognizing these silent symptoms of depletion is crucial, as they are often the subtle precursors to a more severe breakdown. Firstly, a persistent feeling of unexplained fatigue is a primary indicator. You wake up tired, feel tired throughout the day, and even after a full night's sleep, the exhaustion lingers. This isn't just physical tiredness from a strenuous workout. It's a deep-seated weariness that permeates your very being, suggesting your internal reserves are critically low. Your body is screaming for rest, but your mind, conditioned by the try harder narrative, forces it to keep going. Secondly, you might notice an increased irritability and impatience, both with others and with yourself. Small annoyances become monumental frustrations. You might snap at loved ones, feel a simmering rage at minor inconveniences, or experience a profound lack of patience for tasks that once seemed manageable. This emotional volatility is a sign that your stress bucket is overflowing and your coping mechanisms are severely depleted. Your usual composure gives way to a short fuse, reflecting an inner turmoil that you are desperately trying to suppress. Thirdly, tasks that once brought purpose or satisfaction become robotic. You go through the motions, performing duties like a machine, devoid of emotion or genuine engagement. There's a disconnect between your actions and your inner state. You might complete projects, attend meetings, or fulfill social obligations, but the passion, curiosity, or enjoyment that once accompanied these activities has vanished. This emotional numbness is a defense mechanism, a way for your brain to cope with overwhelming stress by shutting down sensory input and emotional responses. Perhaps most alarmingly, even when significant goals are achieved, a promotion, a project completed, a difficult period overcome, there is no sense of joy, excitement, or true accomplishment. The satisfaction is fleeting, if it exists at all, quickly replaced by a new list of demands or an overwhelming sense of emptiness. This anhedonia, the inability to experience pleasure, is a stark warning sign that the reward system in your brain is malfunctioning, overloaded by chronic stress and continuous output. The very purpose of your trying hard seems to evaporate, leaving you with nothing but exhaustion. And despite all these red flags, the most dangerous symptom is the inability to stop. You continue to try hard because the idea of pausing, of stepping back, feels terrifying. It's as if an internal switch is stuck in the on position, forcing you to persist even when every fiber of your being cries out for release. This relentless self-compulsion is often driven by deeply ingrained beliefs about self-worth, fear of failure, and societal pressure. I remember a time in my early 20s, fresh out of university, when I was determined to prove my worth in a demanding corporate environment. I would regularly work 12 to 14-hour days, answer emails at midnight, and volunteer for every extra project. Sleep became a luxury, and social life dwindled. I convinced myself this was the path to success, that my effort was directly proportional to my future. I felt a constant low-grade fatigue, but I dismissed it as normal for high achievers. I became irritable with my friends and family, my patience wore thin, and even when I received positive feedback, it felt hollow. One morning, I woke up feeling a profound sense of dread, a bone-deep exhaustion that made getting out of bed feel impossible. I pushed through it for a few more weeks, until a colleague, seeing the dark circles under my eyes and my increasingly withdrawn demeanor, gently suggested I take a break. It was a wake-up call. I realized I was running on empty, risking my health and happiness for a perceived ideal of productivity. That experience taught me the hard way that trying hard, without acknowledging limits, is a recipe for burnout, not brilliance. Part 3. The invisible chains. Why we resist rest. The reluctance to disengage from the relentless cycle of effort is not merely a personal failing. It is often rooted in deeply ingrained fears, societal conditioning, and flawed self-perceptions. Understanding these underlying reasons is the first step towards breaking free. One of the most potent drivers is the fear of being left behind. In a hyper-competitive world, where opportunities seem fleeting and progress is constantly measured, the idea of pausing feels like falling behind. We see others seemingly forging ahead, reaching milestones, and achieving recognition, which fuels an irrational anxiety that if we stop, even momentarily, the world will pass us by. This fear is exacerbated by social media, where curated highlight reels of other successes create an illusion of perpetual advancement, making our own moments of rest feel like dangerous stagnation. Coupled with this is the powerful psychological trap of sunk cost fallacy, the belief that because you've come so far, invested so much, you simply cannot stop now. This mindset, often framed as resilience, can become a prison. I've already put in so much time and effort, the internal monologue whispers. To stop now would make it all meaningless. This rationalization forces us to continue down a path, even if it's detrimental, simply to avoid the perceived waste of past investments. The idea of abandoning a project, a career, or even a relationship after years of effort feels like an unbearable loss, pushing us to endure further suffering rather than acknowledge a misstep or a need for change. The pressure from family, society, and social media further solidifies this resistance to rest. From childhood, many are conditioned to associate value with productivity. "What do you do?" is often one of the first questions asked upon meeting someone, implicitly linking our identity to our output. Family expectations, often well-meaning, can reinforce the idea that success is achieved only through tireless work. Social media, with its constant display of hustle culture and curated perfection, creates an environment where any pause is viewed as laziness or a lack of ambition. The fear of being judged, of not meeting external standards, becomes a heavy burden, making rest feel like a transgression. Finally, a common and destructive misconception is the equation of self-worth with performance. I am what I achieve. This flawed belief system dictates that our value as individuals is directly proportional to our productivity, accomplishments, or ability to do. If we are not constantly producing, achieving, or trying hard, we fear we are somehow less worthy of love, respect, or even existence. This self-identity crisis leads to a relentless pursuit of external validation through performance. The insidious danger here is that when we link our fundamental worth to our output, any cessation of effort, any moment of rest, feels like a direct assault on our very identity, making the act of stopping almost impossible without undergoing a painful re-evaluation of self. Part 4. Rest, not surrender, but rebirth. In a world that often misinterprets rest as idleness or a sign of giving up, it's crucial to redefine its true purpose. Rest is not surrender. It is a strategic pause, a vital recalibration, and ultimately a powerful act of self-preservation that enables sustained progress. To equate rest with quitting is a fundamental misunderstanding of human physiology and psychology. Rest does not mean giving up on your goals. It means stepping back so you can pursue them more effectively and sustainably. Think of an athlete. They train intensely, but they also incorporate rest days, recovery periods, and off-seasons. Without these crucial breaks, their bodies would break down, their performance would plummet, and their careers would be cut short. The same principle applies to our mental and emotional well-being. When you are depleted, every ounce of effort you exert is of diminished quality. Your focus wavers, your creativity stalls, and your decision-making becomes impaired. Pushing through exhaustion often leads to mistakes, inefficiency, and ultimately poorer outcomes. It's like trying to run a marathon on empty. You might keep moving, but your pace will be agonizingly slow. Your form will suffer, and you risk serious injury. When you are running on fumes, your trying hard becomes a hollow act, producing minimal returns for maximum personal cost. Like any living organism, our minds, emotions, and bodies require periods of regeneration and recovery. Just as a plant needs water and sunlight to flourish, or a machine needs maintenance to function optimally, humans need downtime to restore their internal resources. This recovery isn't just about sleeping. It's about giving your nervous system a break from constant stimulation, allowing your brain to process information, and giving your emotional self space to regulate and heal. Without this vital period of restoration, stress hormones remain elevated, cognitive function declines, and emotional resilience erodes. Therefore, the act of daring to stop, to consciously choose rest, can often be a more courageous act than continuing to run aimlessly. It requires a profound level of self-awareness and self-compassion to acknowledge your limits in a society that constantly pressures you to exceed them. It demands a redefinition of strength, not as the ability to endure endless suffering, but as the wisdom to know when to pause, pivot, and prioritize your well-being. This courageous pause is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of intelligent self-leadership, ensuring that your journey is not just long, but also healthy and truly meaningful. Part 5. Mastering the art of rest, releasing the guilt. Learning to rest effectively without the accompanying guilt and self-reproach is a profound shift in mindset and practice. It requires challenging deeply ingrained beliefs and consciously reprioritizing your well-being. The first crucial step is to fundamentally change your belief system. You do not need to constantly do or achieve to be worthy. Your value as a human being is inherent, not conditional upon your productivity or performance. You are worthy of love, respect, and peace simply because you exist. This uncoupling of self-worth from output is liberating. When you internalize this truth, the pressure to constantly prove yourself diminishes, allowing you to embrace rest not as a failure, but as a valid and necessary part of being human. Next, cultivating a keen awareness of your body and mind is essential. Learn to listen to the subtle signals of fatigue, stress, and overwhelm early on. This might involve noticing increased tension in your shoulders, a shortened temper, difficulty focusing, or a pervasive sense of dread. These are not signs of weakness, but invaluable alerts from your internal system that you are approaching your limits. The earlier you recognize these signs, the sooner you can intervene with restorative practices, preventing a full-blown burnout. To make rest a non-negotiable part of your life, schedule it just as diligently as you schedule your work or other commitments. Treat rest as an essential appointment with yourself, one that cannot be easily canceled or postponed. This might mean blocking out specific times for breaks, leisure activities, or simply quiet contemplation. When rest becomes a planned component of your routine, rather than an afterthought, it gains legitimacy and is less likely to be sacrificed at the altar of busyness. Experiment with intentional voids, periods where you deliberately choose not to do anything productive. This could be as simple as taking a walk without a destination, journaling your thoughts, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, or consciously turning off social media and devices for a set period. These moments of stillness allow your mind to wander, to process, and to simply be. They provide a vital contrast to the constant stimulation and demands of modern life, fostering a sense of inner calm and clarity. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, challenge the pervasive guilt associated with rest. Ask yourself, if I don't do anything today, am I still worthy of love and kindness? The answer, unequivocally, must be yes. Practice self-compassion and affirm your inherent value, regardless of your output. Remind yourself that rest is not a luxury. It is a biological and psychological necessity for your long-term health and well-being. Embrace the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth extends far beyond your accomplishments, and that truly loving yourself means honoring your need for replenishment. Conclusion: the courage to know when to stop. The ingrained belief that trying hard is always good, always necessary, can be a dangerous illusion, especially when the unspoken cost is your very self. While effort and perseverance are undeniably valuable virtues, true wisdom lies in understanding their limits and recognizing when their continued application becomes destructive. We are not machines built for endless output without the need for restoration. We are complex human beings with intricate needs for physical recuperation, emotional processing, and mental decompression. To deny these needs, to constantly override our body's signals in the relentless pursuit of more, is not strength. It is a profound form of self-neglect. Instead, let us choose to live more intelligently, to listen more intently to the subtle whispers of our own bodies and minds, and to treat ourselves with a profound and necessary gentleness. This means having the courage to set boundaries, to say no when the burden becomes too heavy, and to prioritize our well-being over external expectations or the relentless hum of internal self-criticism. The greatest act of courage is not always to continue pushing through pain, but to know when to stop, to pause, and to allow ourselves the grace of rest. This is not a surrender. It is a strategic retreat that allows for regeneration, renewed purpose, and a more sustainable, fulfilling journey. You are human, and humans need to be restored, not merely pushed. Embrace the wisdom of knowing when to rest, and in that pause, discover a deeper, more resilient strength than you ever imagined. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.